The plan here is pretty simple. Make a 3D game, have the player defend something against infinite waves of enemies, and follow the fun. Alright, let's rewind back a few months and start from scratch. Now, before we can do much, a 3D character needs to be made for our player. So let's take this pill and carefully drop a little hat on its head. Good fit! The hat just helps show which direction we're facing. Next, we can throw together a few lines of code and voila! Our little pill can now move. We'll come back and make our player look better in a minute, but this works for now. Okay, next let's add something to make this more fun. Let's create an enemy AI. We'll just copy our player and swap out a few colors. That's looking pretty good. While we're making enemies, let's also upgrade our little hats to shoot stuff. I'll admit, my 3D modeling skills are mostly terrible, so our projectiles ended up looking like tiny yellow post-it notes. Now that we can shoot stuff, let's build a simple health system. This will track player and enemy healths. We'll also tell the system to kill its owner if health reaches 0. Alright, this feels sorta fun. Even though our 3D game is still pretty basic, it already feels kinda weird having these enemies just pop up from out of nowhere. Most games have enemies spawning from something, so let's pull together a spawn point. I'll just take a few cubes and smash them together to create a thing. I guess it resembles a crystal. Now all we need to do is set our enemies to spawn from these. Ah, well, that's busted. Okay, after fixing a few bugs, our crystals can now spawn enemies correctly. But let's take our crystal one step further and move it around the map. This should help make gameplay a little less predictable. Cool. Now finding and killing each enemy at least feels a little more fun, knowing there's a spawn point to track down. Things are coming along alright, but killing all these enemies seems pretty pointless. So let's add a point system. We can throw together some code to track each enemy death and then add it as a point to a scoreboard. Okay, that's a little better, but it's still missing something. Most games make their point systems a bit more interesting by using some type of flashy currency. So let's steal that time-tested idea and add coin drops. I mean, who doesn't like finding money on the ground? If you like finding money, tap that little like button right now. If this video gets over 100 likes, I'll know lots of people like money. Now that we have our coins, let's create something to spend them on. We'll make this easy on ourselves and add in a simple shopping menu with some buttons. These buttons can increase stuff like player health in exchange for coins. Alright, good stuff. This is starting to feel more like a real game, but a few things are still missing. One thing I always enjoy in games is a day and night cycle. Even a casual game like Minecraft makes traveling around at night pretty scary in survival mode. So let's create a few more scripts and add a clock. Cool, now we can just set our 3D world to respond to the current time. With time now set up, having everything out to kill you at night feels a bit sad. To fix this, let's create some happy little allies. Once again, we'll take the player's character, boop, and just swap out those colors. It's pretty clear I did a bad job on our AI's movement. Both our allies and enemies just aimlessly wander around bumping into stuff, like nothing matters. That's good enough for now. Okay, we have spawn crystals, enemies, and allies all flying around our map. Next, let's try to make something to help our player track this stuff. Many 3D games feature some type of mini-map compass thing to alert the player of stuff like incoming enemies. So with pretty much no effort, I made this compass-shaped circle appear in the top right corner. I'd call that halfway done. Now we just need to learn some math so we can set up a real working compass in our 3D game. Yeah, something's off. This looks a little too 3D. That's nothing a Googler or two can't fix. There we go. With our compass now set up, we can easily track all this chaos around us. Next, let's make sniping enemies from a distance a little more fun. If you know anything about me, you know I'm a huge fan of exploding loot drops. We'll throw those in next. To make our first loot item, let's create a magic staff weapon. With just a few more lines of code, we can give our staff a random chance to drop when an enemy dies. But let's not get too carried away here. I'm feeling a bit lazy, so we'll do just one type of item drop for now. It does have 5 tiers with randomized skill values and cute matching colors, so that's cool. With all our new loot, this feels like a good time to add something important to defend. My first pass was, you probably guessed it, a cube-shaped object. We'll call this a shop, and because I like medieval themed stuff, let's tweak a few things to make this look more like a traveling merchant cart. Great. All we need now is a donkey to pull our cart. Nailed it. I'll be honest with you, at first this donkey was just going to die in a cinematic way to kick off the game. The player would have defended their merchant cart and the game would have been called Donkey Avenger. But it feels more right to have the player save their little ass. And to really crank up that fun meter, let's modify the objective just a bit. Instead of saving the donkey from death, we'll set the enemies to steal our donkey, and if they can take it back to their evil lair, it's game over. Now that we've added a few more layers to our game, going into a menu to buy upgrades feels like a chore. Searching through piles of loot is just more fun, but our coins aren't going to spend themselves. So let's trash all that work we did on our shopping menus, and in the spirit of trashing 2 birds in 1 bin, let's also remove the mostly useless ally bots we made earlier. We'll replace them with something a little more constructive. There we go, now we can build turrets. This should help give our player a bit more control over their defense strategy. Hold up though, it appears all these changes messed up a few things. Removing health as a purchase option leaves the player with no way to heal. Okay, let's not panic. We'll just copy over this coin we made earlier and swap it out for a collectible heart. That'll work. We also removed speed upgrades when we got rid of our shop, so let's make some little shoes that can drop as loot. Similar to how our staff weapon can increase player attack stats, these shoes will have a chance to upgrade player movement and allow for multi-jumping. Okay, this feels pretty fun, but improving our player's movement really highlights just how awful our AI's movement is. Clearly, I lied to you earlier. I said those aimlessly wandering bots were good enough. Well, they keep getting stuck and it's driving me nuts. Right now, all our bots simply go in a straight line from point A to point B. They don't care at all about obstacles. Most games fix this with something called Pathfinding. It just helps the AI navigate maps better. Sort of like turning on the lights for our little dudes. Now, instead of telling them to go straight until reaching point B, we can set a destination and have them figure out the rest. Okay, looking good. Now let's spice things up even more. No matter how much personality bots have, they just happily keep doing whatever you code them to do. Forever. But unlike bots, our human player could use some encouragement. Almost every game has some type of leveling system that helps show progression. This is also a good way to set short-term and long-term goals for the player. Cool, now we can see our personal progress while we shoot through infinite waves of enemies. While we're at it, let's also add achievement trophies that can be earned beyond just one playthrough. Alright, at this point, it's really starting to feel like gameplay is outgrowing my art. I attempted to make our enemy look better, but you can see how that turned out. I don't know, something about this little guy is just very wrong. As I mentioned earlier, I'm pretty terrible at 3D modeling, so my wife started making things in Blender. And because she's terrible at character design, we had our friend Xeris Gray sketch up some cool characters. He's pretty great. Definitely check out his Twitch and Discord if you're into that kind of stuff. Links will be below. Okay, now that we have our character model, all we need to do is make it walk. Most 3D games rig models with bones, then add in animations to move them around. Sounds easy enough. Right, something's definitely off here. There we go, that's a little better. With all these new 3D models coming together, we should probably turn our attention towards this flat, empty world. So let's break out our crayons and do some unprofessional level design. Yeah, that's the stuff. Great, now let's head back into Unity and transform this mess into a thriving 3D world. We'll just throw an elevation, a dirt road, and some nature stuff. Excellent. This will help make our map a bit more fun for the player to navigate. With our world now done and gameplay feeling mostly complete, the next to last step is to add audio. Sound effects and music are pretty neat in general, but they also add some extra juice and help keep players immersed. Alright, let's hop on over to my favorite DAW, or digital audio workstation, FL Studio, and knock out some audio. Awesome, now we can mow down infinite waves of enemies while listening to some sick beats. Alright, let's wrap this up by creating a simple title screen and pause menu. Now, there's a special spot in my heart for pixel art, so let's go with that style for our UI stuff. There we go. And with that, our game is complete. Donkey Defender just became the first 3D game I actually finished. It's far from perfect, but has a defense-focused, shoot-'em-up vibe that I think came out pretty fun. Hopefully you enjoyed the ride as much as I did. If you like this video, consider giving that like button a gentle tap. To differentiate your like from those who liked money earlier, be sure to also click the subscribe button. If you're interested in playing this game yourself, you can find a link below to download it free on itch.io. Thanks for watching. Until next time, you take care of yourself.